What's going on, guys? Randall, aka Cheesy Cats, here on the Tressa's Collectibles channel, here with our latest product opening video. Today we're going to be looking at Arifureta from Commonplace to World's Strongest, one of the latest imports over from the JP side of Weiss Schwarz. This is an Isekai story with a pretty Isekai plot. That's really the only way I can describe it. For those of you who have not checked out the source material, Arifureta is a story where a class of students get teleported to another world, and in that world, each of those students is able to get a job and have various stats, kind of like a fantasy setting. And some characters are more suited for battle, some characters are more suited for things like farming or being a merchant or something like that. And our main character, Hajime, is, I believe his role name was Synergist, which a lot of people in the world note is not a super useful or like heroic job. And it allows him to like combine things, but not in any particular way that the people of that world know to be particularly useful for something like battle. And so for that reason, he's just not exactly the most noteworthy character at the start. But he wants to go into battle and he wants to help his classmates and the people of the kingdom that they were teleported to. From there, he basically gets betrayed and like left for dead. And using his synergist abilities, he's able to incorporate like monster parts into his body and become a much stronger human. And he also goes through a pretty drastic visual change. Like he goes from being like an ordinary, like dark hair MC, where he's just like kind of a pushover, into this character that we see here with the white hair, and he becomes a lot more of an edgelord. And over the courses of his adventures, he recruits various female companions, which we'll be taking a look at. That is definitely one of the biggest draws of Arifureta, is all of the various waifus that the MC meets along his adventures and adds to his party. So that's basically the main premise of Arifureta. We just have like a weak MC becomes strong sort of story. And today we're going to be going into the Arifureta set with our standard fare for opening products. We're going to be looking at 1 copy of the trial deck and 2 of the booster boxes. So before we get into our opening, as always, we do have to take a look at the beautiful case topper playmat that we have here, featuring our MC Hajime and one of the main girls, Yue. And as this is the stitched edge variety that comes with the non-English original sets, you will be getting 1 of these case topper playmats in every sealed case of 18 booster boxes. So with that being said, we're gonna get right into our opening with our trial deck. So let's get right into it. Okay, since our last video where we did the Azur Lane openings, I have since learned what I think is the easiest way to open up these trial decks. So what we're just basically going to do is we're going to take these 2 like triangular flaps here. We're just going to go ahead and rip those. And then once you've done that, you can just take each of these, pull them apart, and then the trial deck just opens right up. You don't got to deal with any of that tape on the top, none of that nonsense. All right, so our trial deck, as always, these are 50 card pre-constructed decks. They are basically ready to play right out of the box, although some players, or a lot of players, will recommend that you pick up 2 copies of the trial deck in order to make sure that you have a full play set of every card, that being 4 copies of every single card, so that you can make the deck as good as possible as you're starting out. As with every trial deck, we are going to have a couple things for new players to make use of. So one of them is a quick rule sheet and play guide that shows you a bunch of information that you need to know about the game. And then we also have the paper playmat that you can use if you don't have any of these nice rubber playmats. So it is, of course, just a paper playmat, but as with the back of each of these paper playmats, you will see a bunch of tips for playing the trial deck that you are opening, as well as some potential cards that you can add to the deck from the booster pack in order to make it stronger, listed here at the bottom. So always some cool stuff for new players to get a hold of, even if it's just a trial deck. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at what's inside. So For our cover card, we have the 1-0 Climax combo, Strongest Duo, Yue and Hajime. So this is a 1-0 choice Climax combo, and it's very similar to the Dido combo that we saw in the previous Azur Lane block, where when it reverses its battle opponent, you get to look at up to 2 cards from the top of your deck, choose up to 2 Tortus trait characters, that being the main trait of the cards in Arifureta, or copies of At the Bottom of the Abyss, which is a 1-0 event that we will be looking at later in this trial deck. Show those to your opponent, add them to hand, send the rest to waiting room. So basically, for each copy of this Climax combo, you can get up to 2 cards back, which is really, really strong. It does require that you get a reverse in order to do so, though. If you are able to get those reverses, then this Climax combo, especially in multiples, can net you a ton of card advantage. And as one last really cool note about this card, it does have a soul trigger, which not only means that triggering this can allow you to do extra damage, but more importantly means that you can pick this card up off of a triggered choice climax, because choice climaxes, when you trigger them, you can get a character from your waiting room with a soul trigger and either add it to your hand or send it to waiting room. So really nice card to start out our trial deck. Here we have our trial deck Brainstorm, which is a draw Brainstorm 5. And additionally, when you trigger a climax, you can look at the top card of your deck and either leave it on top or put it into your waiting room. This trial deck comes with 4 copies of the Brainstorm. And this is one of the trial decks where every single card in the trial deck can come triple R. And so as a result, we will have one of every single card at the very back of the pack. Next up, we have Special Lover Yue. This is a drop search, and also when this becomes reversed in battle, if you have 2 or less cards in memory, you can send this card to memory. So this is a card that's universally useful just because of its drop search ability, but that memory effect is actually important for a specific Climax combo in the booster set that requires this card in memory in order for it to work. So we'll be taking a look at that later. Also, notably, this card has some really nice art by an artist named Takayaki. Takayaki does the art for 3 of the cards in this trial deck, as well as the art for the light novel, and I'm a big fan of their art. I really like the art style and the way they do like color shading. So yeah, be sure to give the light novel art a look. So this trial deck is going to be coming with 4 copies of the drop search, where the 4th copy is in the back. And this drop search should be the card that can come SP, if I'm not mistaken. So hopefully we can pull one of these. All right, next up we have the level 0 Kari. This is a vanilla Fukajiro, where when she's placed into the waiting room from your stage, you can discard a card, look at top 4, add a level 1 or higher card. This can add events, which would allow it to add the event that we will take a look at later in the trial deck. Here we have 2 more copies of Strongest Duo, Yue and Hajime. This is the non-foil version of the card. And this is also the artwork that is going to be featured on the BCS playmat, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, let's see. We have a 2500 backup Kari. Again, another card with a soul trigger icon that you can pick up off of choice climaxes. We have 2-1 Yue Vanilla, which I believe interacts with a level 0 in green. And then we have the first level 3, the Last Vampire Yue. So this is an on-play healer, heal to stock by sacrificing one of your other Tortus trait characters. And she's also an off-climax finisher. When she attacks, you can pay 3, discard 2 to deal 3 damage to your opponent. So pretty nice card. The fact that her heal to stock allows you to pay for some of the costs is also really nice. You can convert any unneeded characters on your stage into more resource to help you pay the cost for that effect. Here we have the event of the deck at the bottom of the Abyss. It's a 1-0 event counter where you look at up to 4 cards from the top of your deck, choose a Tortus character from among them, add it to your hand, and send the rest to waiting room, and then you put the event to the bottom of your deck. So pretty nice card. Allows you to get a nice bit of deck speed, especially in decks where you don't have a lot of deck speed to begin with. So this could be a pretty good consideration for those decks. Here we have our first climax of the deck. Here we have Conveying Sentiments, the choice climax for the level 1 Yue and Hajime combo. So go ahead and put that right there. And getting into the green cards, we have Mew, the token lolly, I guess, of the party. She is a mermaid child that was kidnapped and then subsequently rescued by UA and Company. She is a assist 500, and you can rest her to give 1k. So very nice buffer to help out that UA and Hajime combo get the reverse on some of the bigger characters that your opponent might put on the stage. You have the level 0 Hajime. It's a ditch bond to the 2-1 vanilla and also gives it 2k power continuously. Next up, we have the Shea Climax Swap. This is one of 2 Climax Swaps available in Arifureta. The Shea Climax Swap is a standard one where you pay 1 stock, discard a Climax, salvage a Climax. The other one in the booster set, you sacrifice a character and discard a Climax to salvage a Climax. So it allows you to save stock. You do have the option between the two, so just pick whichever one you think best suits your deck's playstyle. Additionally, when she's placed on stage from hand, you can choose one of your characters and give it 1500 power until end of turn, so really nice utility effect even when you're not utilizing that Climax Swap utility. All right, we have the level 0 Tio. This is an on-play drop assassin, gain 1000 times the number of your Tortus characters, including herself, so she will always be at least 3000 when you play her because she always counts herself, but if you can play her into a board with even more characters, she'll be able to kill some pretty high power stuff. All right, we have 3 copies of the Tio level 1. This is a really nice card from the trial deck as well. If all of your characters are Tortoise trait, she becomes 5500, and then when she attacks, if you have a Climax in play, you reveal the top card of your deck, and if it is level 1 or higher, you get to send it to stock. So this is a really nice level 1 supplementary option alongside a normal Climax combo to try to get even more resources out of your Climax combo turn. Okay, next we have 2-1 Tio. This is a beater. So we get 2 copies of this. Or sorry, this is not the beater. This is the beater, sorry. This is a 1k global. And additionally, when she's placed on stage from hand, if you have a full board of characters, you get to put a character from your waiting room into stock, so she can basically come to play for free. Next, we have the beater of the deck, the 2-1 Shea. She is a 9k beater, or 9-5 beater with Hand Encore, just a pretty simple card. And then here we have the level 3 combo of the trial deck, which is the level 3 Shea with Gold Bar. So this is a card that we're actually going to be featuring in our upcoming deck profile on the channel. This is a really, really strong card, in my opinion. When this is placed on stage from hand, you can summon a character from your hand without paying cost, and additionally, you give the summoned character plus 2000 power until end of turn. Her Climax combo is at the end of her attack with Gold Bar, you can pay 3 stock and discard a card to stand herself. And so what's really, really nice about this end game is that despite the restand from the Climax combo being relatively expensive, the fact that you can play a Shea, summon another Shea for free, which summons another Shea for free, you can save a whole bunch of stock on that endgame turn, and then use all that stock on triple restand effects. Additionally, with the 3rd copy of Shea that you play in the chain, you can use that one to summon another level 3 to save even more stock and maybe even add some more finisher potential to your endgame turn. So really, really nice finisher. I'm a big fan of this and what it brings to the table. And yeah, just keep a lookout for our upcoming deck profile where we will be featuring this card. Our last Climax of the deck is the +2 Soul, A New Journey. Notably, Arifureta's set in Weiss does go through both of the seasons of Arifureta. And as we can see here, we have, well, I mean, like, I guess it's kind of a spoiler, but it will be something that we will look at later on as we open the booster box. But we do have basically, like, you know, the full party here. Okay, so now we're at the back of the pack, so we can go ahead and see what we're missing to try to find out which card is our RRR or maybe even SP. Okay, 3-2, 1-0 event, Climax, Mew, Hajime, Tio. I don't remember if the Shea and the Tio can come SP. I think they might. Yeah, actually all 3 of these cards, the cards with the Takayaki artwork can come SP. So those ones will be at the very back of the pack before the last card, which is the foil, unless one of these 3 is our foil, in which case it would be an SP. Let's see, 2-1, let's see, 2-1 Tio, 2-1 Shea, 3-2 Shea. Oh, I'm kind of excited now. Okay, so we have UA, Shea, Tio, and then our RRR, which I think, I'm actually not sure what it is. What do we have? Oh, okay, we have the level 0 Tio. So I missed that we didn't have the Tio when I was going from the level 0 Hajime up to the 2-1. So that is going to be our triple R for the trial deck. Unfortunately, we were not able to pull one of the SPs, but hopefully you guys have some better luck on your trial deck pulls. With that being said, let's get into our booster boxes. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this up and we'll be right back. Okay guys, here we are with our first booster box. And before we get into the opening, let's go ahead and talk about the ratios of Arifureta first. So this is a very standard booster set with very standard ratios. It has 10 double Rs. It's not a set where everything can come foil like Azure Lane or Hololive. And so we are going to be seeing some very standard ratios. Also, I forgot to mention the trial deck expected SP ratios. You should be expecting to get 2 SPs out of a sealed case of 48 trial decks or sealed case of 8 displays. As for the booster set, what you should be expecting to see is 1 or 2 foils per booster box alongside 4 or 5 double Rs. And as far as the SP rates per case, you should be expecting to get 3 SPs out of the 8 SPs possible within your booster case of 18 boxes. With that being said, let's get right into our first box. Take a look at what box topper promo we have. We have the level 0 Shea, which has on play pay to free fresh. Always a pretty nice utility card to have if you're out of a bunch of climaxes. All right, let's get right into it with our first pack. There are a lot of really, really cool cards in Arifureta, so we'll definitely be taking a look at those cards and what they have to bring to the table. A lot of very, very unique profiles, as well as some that we have seen in actually some of the English original sets. So I'll definitely be sure to give those a mention. Here we have a 3K assist for UA that can also come into play with a stock refund, similar to the Tio assist that we saw in the trial deck. So each of the girls in Arifureta, or each of the main girls in Arifureta, comes in 2 colors. Those 4 main girls being Yue, who comes in yellow and red, Shea, who comes in green and blue, Tio, who comes in green and red, and Kaori, who comes in yellow and blue. And then we do have some other characters, such as Mew, who we saw in the trial deck, as well as my personal favorite girl in Arifureta, Shizuku, who only appear in 1 color. So Mew only appears in green, Shizuku only appears in blue, as well as some of the other characters that we'll be taking a look at. But as far as the 4 girls, the 4 main girls, each of them is just kind of like, you know, filling in the niches of trying to appease or appeal to the fan base in different ways. So you have Yue here, who is basically the, you know, she looks 14, but she's actually like 500 years old archetype that, you know, is a little bit cliche in anime at this point, but, you know, that's just kind of how it is. Blonde vampire that looks underage. Here we have a level 0 Hajime that I think is a pretty interesting card. So he has a pay 1 sack to look at up to top 4, choose a level 1 or higher card from among them, add it to your hand. But his other effect, very, very interesting at level 0. He is an assist 1500 to level 0s in front of him, but also makes it so the characters in front of him cannot side attack. So buffs up your level 0s to pretty ridiculous power levels. And even though they can't side attack, if that power boost allows them to just beat over all of your opposing characters, then it really isn't much of a downside. So very interesting card. You would probably play it as like maybe like a 1-of for that second effect, but if you want to use this as an assist in the meantime, very, very good card. Here we're gonna have our first double R, which is Kaori. As far as a character, Kaori is basically just like the very kind, responsible childhood friend type character. A lot of her classmates see her as like one of the idols of the class, and she's very popular, and all the guys like her. But she only has eyes for our MC Hajime here for one reason or another. This card is a very interesting brainstorm for the set. So first of all, it is a tap self-salvage brainstorm, which automatically makes it a very, very strong card in its own right. But it also has a pay to rest this heal effect, seeing as Kaori is the healer of the party. And this card not only is a very nice standalone option, but it's also a combo piece for a fusion that you can do at level 2. So you can use a level 2 Kari, or you can use a, yeah, it is a Kari card, right? You can use a level 2 alongside this Kari to fuse into a level 3. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that later. But this is definitely a card that you will want to be looking out in your pools. This is basically the best brainstorm available in the set that you will want to be putting in a lot of your decks. Okay, here we have 2/1 Tio. Tio, as a character, is, so she is a dragon who can also turn into a humanoid form, which we see here. Tio is a very interesting character. Her main trait is that she is a huge masochist. Like, she basically just like acts like a pervert and is just like, oh yes, talk dirty to, or like talk down on me and like berate me and things like that. And then when he does, and he's just like, can you stop being such a pervert? She's just like, oh yes, do it more. And so yeah, she's as we can see here on the title of this card, Big Pervert Tio. She's kind of a weird character. As far as her climax combo that we have here now, this is a gold bar combo, I believe, or is this, yeah, I think this is a gold bar combo. I know she has a gold bar and a stock soul. But this climax combo is a 2/1 10k. When she reverses her battle opponent, you can look it up to 2 from the top of your deck. Choose up to 2 from among them, put them into stock, and then you can salvage a character. So this is a pretty similar card to 2/1 Mel from Hololive in that sense. I think they have basically the same combo, not 100% sure. Here we have Hajime's Anti-Change Backup. This is a card that you're definitely gonna want to be including in your decks, especially looking forward to the upcoming metagame where I think Overlord, or sorry, Nazarick will be making quite a showing in the upcoming English metagame. So having an anti-change counter in your deck is definitely a great deterrent to the Nazarick strategy with that level 3 Eins. This particular backup can send the opponent's overlevel character to memory at the cost of discarding 2 cards. And so this can be done starting from level 1, as this is a level 1 backup. And so this is definitely a card that you will want to consider putting into your decks. Here we have Tio's other climax combo, Guardian Tio. This is a level 0 combo. When you play the climax on the climax area and you have 2 or more other characters, you get to choose one of your characters and give it the like Aaron bounce back effect, where when it gets front attacked, you can return it back to your hand. This can be very useful with cards that have strong on-play abilities, but is overall just a really strong card in order to maintain advantage. And she also has a secondary ability where you can rest herself in order to give a character 1500 power. Make sure that your characters can survive attacking into the opponent's character so that they can actually get the bounce back value, come back to your hand on the next turn. And yeah, if I didn't mention it already, that climax combo is able to be activated from the back row. So you're basically just supposed to keep copies of the Tio in the back row, use them to buff the front row, and then use the climax combo on your front row characters. For our first climax, we have 2 soul UA combo. Aftertaste of a Kiss. UA is definitely a character that is not afraid to get in there with Hajime, if you know what I mean. To much of the other female mains' displeasure. But Hajime, throughout the show, has definitely made it very clear that UA is the one for him, and that the other girls are just kind of there. They are still vying for his affection, but he does repeatedly acknowledge that Yue is the one that he loves out of the main girls. Okay, here we have a level 0 Mew. This one is just kind of like it's a very interesting plussing profile potentially, where when she's placed on stage from hand, you mill 2, and then if you mill a climax, then you can salvage a character. This is a profile that we've seen previously in sets like ReZero, for those of you who've been playing long enough to know ReZero cards. And then it also has a secondary effect that lets you choose your trigger. Not the most popular card, but definitely an interesting one. Okay, oh, here's a very interesting level 2 Shea. So this card has only one ability, which is rest 2 of your characters. Give all of your characters +1 soul until end of turn. So if you want to play a spicy level 2 option that can basically just act as a climax every single turn, this is definitely a card that you're going to want to include in your deck. However, you do have to rest 2 characters, which does mean that you aren't able to use other effects that you might want to use in your back row that require resting characters, such as brainstorms like your Kari, or effects like the level 0 Shea that is a very prominent card in the 2 Soul Gold Bar deck, which we'll take a look at later. So you do have to make a bit of a sacrifice in order to use this effect. Oh, here we have another example of Tio just being a weirdo, being ignored like this. Yep, she's just, Hajime, pay attention to me. And he's just like, man, I don't want to have anything to do with you. Here we have my favorite girl, Shizuku. Although this is just a vanilla card, we'll be able to take a look at some of her more impactful cards later on in the opening. Ooh, here we have the level 0 Aiko. So this is the teacher of the class. And first of all, obviously not all of the characters that we have taken a look at are from Hajime's class. He meets some of them from the other world, Tortus himself, characters like Tio, who is a dragon woman. We have Yue, who is a vampire, and then we have Shea, who is a beast girl, or like rabbit man, I guess, as it's specifically called. But some of the characters, such as Kari and Shizuku, are from his class, and so we will have some cards that reference the classmate trait later on. And Aiko is the teacher of the class. She will reference both classmate trait and teacher trait for some of her effects. This card in particular does not reference either of those two traits specifically and is instead a really strong utility option. When this card is placed on stage from hand, you can put a card from your hand into stock. So if you have excess hand, you can turn it into stock. And additionally, when this is placed on stage from hand, you can clock a Tortus character from your hand to look at up to 4 cards from the top of your deck, choose a card from among them, add it to your hand, and put the rest into your waiting room. This is a really, really strong card. You get to look through the top 4 cards of your deck for any kind of card. You can add events or climaxes as well, and you don't have to show your opponent what you are adding. Just a really, really strong card overall, and definitely a card that I think you should be considering for your decks. And we have a level 2 killer, Kari, which is a 12k level 2 killer. And then for our rare, we have the level 1 door combo, level 1 Yue. So the 8 door deck focuses on a resonate package with the level 3 Hajime. So this is one of the cards that requires you to have the level 3 Hajime in your hand. It has a resonate combo where you look at the top card of your deck, and if it is a Tortus trait character, you can show it to your opponent and add it to your hand. And if it's not, you send it to the waiting room, and then you blind stock 1. So it potentially allows you to get 1 card and 1 stock. Compared to other resonate packages that we've seen recently in Weiss Schwarz, such as Chloe from Hololive, this one's definitely not the strongest in terms of you don't get the selectivity of like Chloe's Salvage, and it's a blind stock. But I guess the trade-off in that respect is that Chloe is not guaranteed to get you a stock. They're both really strong cards in their own right, so definitely if you are interested in a deck that wants to utilize a resonate package with a lot of resources potentially, then definitely look into trying out the Yue deck. It has some very interesting interactions compared to some of the other decks in Arifureta. Okay, on to our next pack. We have Vanilla Support. Okay, we have the Shea 1/1 Encore that also gets big when your other characters attack. Oh, here we have a very nice level 1 utility option, level 1 Yue. So when this is placed on stage from hand, you can discard a card to summon a level 0 character from your waiting room. This can be really good for securing important level 0s like your Kari Brainstorm, or like if you don't already have the Kari on stage. And she has a secondary effect where you can rest her to choose a character in your opponent's front row and make it lose 2,000 power until the end of the opponent's until the end of the turn. Really, really nice card for scaling over your opponent's board, or if your opponent has smaller characters that are 2,000 or less power, by reducing them to 0, you can just blow them off the board completely. So I'm a big fan of this card, especially if decks with low power utility front row characters end up being a really popular choice in the metagame. Decks like Nazarick that can utilize the level 0 Bell Eins, as well as decks like Hololive that can use things like the level 0 Rene, level 0 Lamy. Cards like those are extremely susceptible to getting blown up off the board by Yue. And one more really cool thing about her is that she does have that soul trigger, works really well in those choice-based Yue decks. You can grab her off of those choice climaxes. Oh man, this is just a common? Man, this is such a good common. Holy moly. All right. Here we have a level 0 stock bomb that when this card gets reversed, you Yeah, okay. I had to just double check and make sure. So this card is a level 0 stock bomb where instead of being a stock bomb for level 0 and lower opposing characters, the way this works is when this gets reversed, you reveal the top card of your deck, and then it is a level X or lower stock reverser, where X is the level of the card you revealed on top of your deck. So let's say you crash this into a level 3, you reveal the top card of your deck, and it's a level 3, you get to stock shoot their character. So very interesting card. We're going to be seeing a similar card in Bocchi the Rock, which recently did get confirmed for English release. So be sure to be on the lookout for that one as well. For our rare, we have the level 0 Aiko. This is an anti-memory card. Both players have to go down to 5 memory, and then she's also a Frederica ability, where when she's reversed in battle, you can look it up to 3 cards from the top of your deck, add up to 1 climax from among them to your hand, and then if you did, you discard a card, and then you send the rest to waiting room. And then here we have our climaxes. Okay. We have a 2/1 UA that gains 6k against level 3s. And then also when she reverses her battle opponent, you can send that opponent's reverse character to memory. This is actually pretty important for an interaction with the level 0 Brainstorm that you're going to want to be playing in the 8-door deck. Okay, here we have the 2/1 Noint. This is kind of a spoiler for Season 2. But this card, this Noint, has a fusion with the level 0 Kari Brainstorm. It's just a very standard fusion level 2, where when it's placed on stage from hand, you can choose two characters. Oh, actually, no, this isn't the standard one. Sorry, my bad. That's my mistake. So normally when you have these fusion level 2s, they put 2 copies of the fusion target on the bottom of your deck. But this one has an effect similar to the Alice Brainstorm from Sword Art Online, where you can shuffle 2 characters back into your deck, give one of your opponent's front row characters -1000 until the end of the turn. And then you have the fusion effect where you can stack her on top of the level 0 Kari Brainstorm in order to fuse into a level 3 Kari from your deck. In particular, when you're running this combination of cards, I do think that a really nice card to have in the deck is the level 1 UA. Because she has that effect that can summon level 0s from your waiting room, it can be a really nice way to get additional copies of the Kari from your waiting room onto stage in order to utilize them for the fusion. All right. Let's see. Here we have the Brainstorm for the 8-door deck. So when your opponent's card is put into memory, you can choose one of your characters, give it 2000 power until end of turn. So that is why the 2/1 UA is a pretty important card in this strategy. You can send your opponent's level 3 to memory, swing over it, and then at the same time, you can give one of your other lanes a 2k buff with the UA Brainstorm, or even a 4k buff if you have multiple copies of the Brainstorm on stage. So really, really nice. And she also is a pay one rest self Brainstorm 5, and for each climax with a door trigger that you mill off the Brainstorm, you get to salvage a character. So really, really nice card. You're going to want to be running this over the Kari if you want to play into that 8-door strategy. For our rare, we have the UA, or not UA, we have the Shea stock swap, where when she's placed on stage from hand, all of your opponent's characters on the front row get -2000 till end of turn, and she has a stock swap ability by discarding 2 cards. We haven't really talked about Shea much as far as her personality or what she's like. She is, so her shtick is she is very strong physically. She's from the Rabbit Man tribe, where they are kind of oppressed, or not oppressed, they are kind of, actually I think that they were the ones that really dislike outsiders. Shea herself is just kind of a very eager character. Honestly, she didn't appeal to me very much when she first appeared in the anime, but as the anime went further along, I kind of warmed up to her a little bit more. She's a very capable fighter. She is extremely strong, and she fights with like a really, really big hammer. And so I don't really have too much to say about Shea. I definitely don't dislike her. She is just she's just a very happy character in relation to some of the other characters that are in the party, where they are honestly, UA doesn't appeal to me very much, and then Tio's just like kind of like weird champ. So yeah. Okay, we have level 3 Tio. This one has variable on-play effects where you can either top check 3, add 1, or you can heal 1. Okay, we have level 0 Hajime. This is a very interesting card. So when this is placed on stage from hand, you can pay 2, put one of your other characters on stage into clock in order to salvage an event or climax. So I definitely think that this is a card that could be seen as very interesting, like one of option to run in your decks if you want a little bit of extra access to your climaxes. And we have an anti-move Kari, who's also a Shimakai buffer. This one is a half Fumio, but it does require you to have a full board of classmate or teacher trait characters, which can be a little bit hard to pull off as there aren't a whole bunch of those cards in the set. So Tio, earlier I said that she is a masochist, and that is reflected in some of her cards where their effects will activate when you take damage. So in this case, this Tio's effect says, during this card's battle, if you take damage, this gets plus 3,000 power until end of turn. So that does mean that it could potentially be a 5k character on defense, which can be pretty annoying for your opponent to try to attack into. Okay, and then for our rare, we have 2/2 Hajime, which is a standby climax combo. During the climax phase, when this is placed on stage via that climax effect, you can send the climax to waiting room to stand this, and he is a 3,500 field counter. I believe this is the exact same pair of effects as the 2/2 Choco Sensei from Hololive. Correct me if I am wrong on that. Personally, I don't think that Choco was a particularly strong card, and I think the Hajime is the same. There are a lot better things that we could be doing in Arifureta than playing the standby combo, in my opinion. Okay, here we have Shizuku's tap self, top check 3 Brainstorm, and at the beginning of your climax phase, you can look at the top card of your deck. Pretty useful card. Oh, we have our first, maybe only foil of the box, which is the level 3 Hajime Climax combo. So, where are my penny sleeves? Hold on one sec. All right, let's go ahead and get a sleeve on this. So this level 3 Hajime is the intended top end for the door deck. So this card has a climax combo that says, on attack, you discard a card from your hand and deal X damage to your opponent, where X equals the cost of the card you discarded plus 1. And so when you're playing this combo, you do want to have a hand of cards that have different costs so that you can adjust the burn damage based on how much damage you need to deal to your opponent. So in a deck, you're typically just going to have cards that are cost 0, 1, and 2. And so by having cards of different costs in your hand, you will be able to burn for 1, 2, or 3. And the fact that you are running an 8-door deck means that if you trigger a door climax within the middle of your attack phase, you can salvage a character with a cost corresponding to the amount of damage that you're going to deal to your opponent. So that's a really, really nice endgame strategy. And additionally, when you perform this climax combo, Hajime also gets plus 2,000 power until end of turn. It's a very interesting card. Also, this card does not have an on-play ability, so you don't get any cards back or anything like that. So you do have to kind of just go in and make sure that you're getting the killing blow when you're using this climax combo. Here we have the level 1 Swimsuit Mew. I'm actually going to leave this card here, as there is a card that we're going to want to look at alongside this. Okay, we have a level 0 Yue that on attack you can choose one of your other characters with Hajime in the name and send it to stock. We've seen abilities like this in other sets, including the upcoming English set Chainsaw Man, or sorry, coming to English soon, Chainsaw Man. But because this Yue has to specifically send a Hajime from your stage to stock, it is quite a bit worse compared to a card that would be able to send basically any character as long as it's of like the correct trait. For our level 3, we have Kari level 3. This card has a early play condition where you need to have 2 cards in your level zone that are either the level 0 Hajime or the Aiko level 1, I believe. If you have 2 cards in your level zone that are either of those cards, then this card gets -1 level in your hand. While this card is in your front row, all of your Tortus characters, including herself, get 1,500 power. And on attack with a Pants Climax. If you have 2 or more other characters, you heal 1 and gain 2k until end of turn. So just, you know, another callback to the fact that Kari is the healer of the group, being able to early play and heal with this card at level 2. All right, our next double R is the level 3 Yue. This is a early play burner. So you can early play this card if you have 4 more Tortus characters on stage. She gets 500 power for each of your other Tortus characters, going up to 10-5 max. And when she's placed on stage from hand, you can put a level 0 Hajime double R from your waiting room underneath her as a marker. And if you do, you burn 1. So you don't have to mess with any like top check burn shenanigans. You don't have to worry about missing. You just play this, you marker the Hajime, and you burn 1. This is a really, really strong card to play alongside the level 3 Shea combo from the trial deck. Because earlier I mentioned that you can play Shea, summon another Shea, and then summon another level 3 from your hand, saving even more stock. This Yue is the perfect candidate to be the card that you summon. You can add an additional burn 1 to your finisher turn as a result of this chain of summons, which is really, really strong. And definitely you want to be running this card in those gold bar decks in order to really maximize the top end potential. Okay, so here we have a picture of Hajime before he turned into the white-haired edgelord that he is now. This is what he looked like at the beginning before he was betrayed and had to basically fight his way back into a living position. So this card, when this card is front attacked, you can put the top card of your deck into your clock and put this into memory. And if you do, you get to I'm not sure which Hajime this is that it grabs or that it summons, to be honest. So I will have to keep on the lookout for that. And then also, when this card is on stage, when your other character is reversed in battle, if this card is in your back row, you can send this card to your waiting room to rest the character that got reversed. This could be useful potentially for cards that want to stay on the stage for multiple turns and get a lot of value. So yeah, obviously, if you guys can't tell, I wasn't super familiar with this card going into analyzing it. This just wasn't a card that I thought a lot about when I was looking through cards to play for Arifureta decks. But yeah, so this is basically just what Hajime was like before he became this. Oh, here we have, for our next rare, we have the Shizuku level 3. So this card has an on-play effect where you can sacrifice one of your other characters in order to salvage a climax. And she has an off-climax finisher ability where when her battle opponent becomes reversed, you can pay 2, discard 1 if you have 2 or more other classmate or teacher trait characters in order to deal 2 damage to your opponent. This can work during either player's turn, which is really, really nice. The hardest part of the effect is going to be having 2 or more other classmate or teacher characters. That is going to be very dependent on the deck that you play her in, but an example that you might do is like maybe you could play her in like an 8-door deck, and your end board is like Hajime, Shizuku, in which case you would have 2 classmate trait characters in the 2 Hajimes, or sorry, not this one, 2 of this Hajime and 1 Shizuku. You would have 2 classmate trait characters in the 2 Hajimes, which would allow you to use her effect. All right, let's keep going. For our next double R, we have Shizuku, one of my personal favorite cards in the set, and it's not just because she's my favorite character. I just think this card is really, really cool. This is basically like a pair of effects that we really have never seen in Weiss Schwarz before. So the level 1 Shizuku, so she starts at only 2k power, which is really, really weak. But her first effect is really cool, where at the beginning of your climax phase, if she's in your front row, you can choose one of your opponent's front row characters and make it lose X power until end of turn, where X equals the number of other Tortus trait characters you have on stage times 1,000. So if you have a full board, you can make one of your opponent's front row characters lose 4,000 power, which effectively makes her a 7,000 power attacker. If you can subtract 4,000 from an opponent's character, it's just like she gained 4,000. But this comes with the additional benefit of being able to snipe opposing characters off the board if they have 4,000 or less power to begin with, which can be really, really nice for upping your damage output. This also has really nice synergy with the, sorry, it's a common, This has really nice synergy with the level 1 UA that we looked at earlier, where you can reduce one of your opponent's characters by 2,000 power and then reduce it by additional power with the Shizuku. So really, really nice combination there. Her climax combo is on attack with pants. You can top check up to 4, add 1 to hand, send the rest to waiting room. Very, very normal climax combo, but you also get to choose one of your opponent's characters and then choose one of their traits, and then you can make that character lose that trait until the end of the turn. This can be really useful against certain decks that need to have all of their characters be a certain trait. Things such as, that time I got reincarnated as a slime. This could be very useful against cards like the level 1, what's it called? What's his face? The level 1 Yom and Miron, where if all of the characters on stage are Demon Continent trait, it becomes a 6k clock encore. You can subtract one of the traits from your opponent's characters in order to make it lose that 2,500 power and clock encore, which is really, really nice. You could use this against decks like quintessential quintuplets with like things like Tutu Nino. Tutu Nino doesn't gain hand encore unless all of the characters on stage are the proper trait. There are just a lot of things that you can mess up with this Shizuku, and it could just happen incidentally and just could really mess up your opponent's game plan. So I'm a very big fan of this particular card. It's just a very, very unique within the world of Weiss Schwarz. We have a level 1 anti-change memory bomb Tio, a very useful card in the 8 door deck because of that synergy with the brainstorm, where if you send the opponent's character to memory, then you can give one of your characters 2,000 power. All right, for our rare, oh sorry, this is double R. For our rare, we have a 2/0 Gravity Magic event for UA. Gravity Magic is a skill that she picks up pretty early on in Arifureta. And this particular effect requires you to have a UA in order to use it, but you get to look at the top card of your deck and either leave it on top or put it into your waiting room and then do it a second time. So this is a good defensive counter, allowing you to try to get some cancels in. It's a very good card to potentially run in a deck that runs the Choice UA top end, where it has an element that relies on you canceling your opponent's damage. For our next double R, we have 3/2 Tio. This is a 2 or less climax early play, and when she's placed on stage from hand, you can heal 1. During your turn, or sorry, when she attacks, if you have 4 more other characters, she gets plus 3,000 power until end of turn, allowing her to attack for 11/5, which is really strong. And the last ability, man, this is ability of all time. During this card's battle, when you take incoming damage, she gets plus 4,000 power until end of turn. So this allows her to go up to potentially 12/5 defense, which makes her a very pesky card to try to attack and try to get her off the board. This ability isn't even limited to once per turn. So let's say you attack her with a burn effect or like a restand, she could potentially go up by 8,000 power if you take all of the instances of damage from that battle, or even more. Like, let's say you attack her with like Gura, and then the 2, the 1, and the 3 or 4 all stick, then she just goes up by 16,000 power. That would be really, really hilarious, but that does also mean that you took an entire level's worth of damage, so it's probably not what you want to see. But a very, very funny card, very, very thematic, flavorful to her masochistic tendencies, yeah, I'm sure some people out there are very into this artwork as well. She does have her butt in the air. Okay. For our rare, we have the level 0 UA. This is the other climax swap of the set. So in the trial deck, we had the Shea. That is a pay 1 climax swap. This one is a sack character climax swap. So it allows you to save on stop. Really, really neat card. Okay. No double R or foil here. For our rare, we have the level 1 UA combo with +2 soul. This is definitely one of the most interesting cards that you could possibly be running in Arifureta. So this card, I'll get to the non-climax combo effect after, I guess. So this card's climax combo requires you to have the level 0 drop search from the trial deck in memory. And the ability with 2 soul says, when this card's damage is canceled, you can stock 2 characters from your waiting room, look at up to 4 cards from the top of your deck, add a character from among them, add it to your hand, and send the rest to waiting room. So that is a +3 in resources because you're getting 2 stock and 1 hand. Additionally, her non-climax combo effect says that when her damage is canceled, you can return her back to your hand, potentially try to get another copy of the +2 soul, and use the climax combo again on your next turn. So typically, I'm not a big fan of +2 soul combos that require the opponent to cancel because you basically have to only get one of the 2 ideal outcomes where either your opponent eats damage or you get a bunch of cards. Like, you could just play a normal climax combo and your opponent could eat damage and you could get a bunch of cards. So it's like, I typically don't think that on cancel combos are very good. But because this card is able to amass so much advantage off of just a single cancel, I think that this one is probably one of the best +2 soul on cancel combos that you could be running. You do want to have 3 copies of this for sure, though, when you're doing this. She does also have a soul trigger, which makes her useful in a deck that could run Choice as the top end with like level 3 UA top end. You would be able to grab this off of Choice climaxes. So really, really nice. All right. For our rare, we have a 1/0 Hajime. He has the like on-play like event Hestia effect where you look at up to 3 cards from the top of your deck, choose up to 1 event from among them, add it to hand, send the rest to waiting room, and then if you added an event to your hand, you discard a card. And his secondary effect is he is a level 0 reverser. Here we have a 2/2 Tio event. This is a very interesting event. Again, another thematic card with Tio's masochistic tendencies. So you choose one of your characters with Tio in its card name, and it gains an effect until the end of the turn. When you take damage, you may heal 2. This can be used on a Tio back row. It doesn't have to be used on a Tio in the front row. And it can apply to any battle that happens that turn. So like you can use this on the very first attack of the turn, use it on a Tio back row, and then make it so that any damage that you take, you get to heal 2. The problem is that Tio cards are far and few between, and they're also not exactly the greatest cards. The one that you would probably be most likely to use this with is the 3/2 early play, but it's not exactly reliable to even have this on the board, given that it has a 2 or less climax early play condition. These ones just tend to not be the most consistent these days, and you would much prefer an early play condition like 4 or more on board, where it's very, very easy to fulfill. It's a very interesting card nonetheless, so if you are a fan of Tio, this is definitely a card that you're going to want to look at. As far as what's being depicted in this particular scene, this is actually like the source of her masochistic tendencies, where Hajime defeats her when she is a dragon by shoving a rod up her butt. I wish I was joking. Basically, the idea is that they're trying to defeat her as a dragon, but she is covered in a lot of like hardened dragon scales. And so Hajime says the best way to beat a dragon that's covered in scales, its one weakness is the butt. And so he just kind of shoves a big metal rod up her butt, and she ends up liking it. So there you go. There's Tio for you. Okay. For our rare, we have a level 1 Tio. This is an Accelerate. Man, another card that feeds into Tio's masochistic tendencies. She gets to hit herself. At the beginning of your climax phase, you can clock a Tortus character from your waiting room to the bottom of your clock in order to top check up to 3, add up to 1 Tortus character or the 2/2 event from among them to your hand, send the rest to waiting room. And if your clock has 3 or more cards, she becomes a 6K body. So pretty nice. Interesting card if you could potentially use if you want more climax combo list advantage options. Okay, and for our 5th double R, we have the Shea. We'll get to that in a sec. Memory kit counter here for Mew. We have a level 0. So for Shea's double R, so she is a on-play heal to stock, and she has a climax combo with Pants, where on attack you pay 1, you mocha your opponent, so you look at the top 2 cards of their deck, send any cards from among them to the waiting room, leave the rest on top. And then at the end of her attack, if she is still on the stage, you reveal the top card of your deck, put it on the bottom of your deck. If that card has a soul trigger icon, you deal 1 damage to your opponent. So just potentially gets you some incidental extra burn damage. Typically, a Mocha combo doesn't require any stock, and so in this case, you are paying 1 stock in order to maybe get a burn 1. So personally, I'm not the biggest fan of this combo just because it doesn't really have a lot of guarantees between the Mocha and the maybe burn 1. But if you are a fan of Shea, definitely try this combo out. For our level 0 rare, we have a very interesting helmet adjacent effect where you discard a card, put this card on the bottom of your deck instead of the waiting room, and then you get to search your deck for a Tortus character and then shuffle your deck. So this card actually won't stay on the bottom of your deck because it will get shuffled in. And additionally, if you run this in a deck that runs the 1-0 event from the trial deck, that event would put itself on the bottom of your deck. And so this card would allow you to shuffle not only itself, but also that event into the deck so that they're not sitting on the bottom waiting to be like clean damage that your opponent could potentially take advantage of. All right, so I think we're all out of foils. Here we have the 2/1 Princess Liliana. She's a character that doesn't show up until season 2 of Arifureta, but she does have, I think this is her only card in the set. I might be wrong. Man, we haven't pulled the level 0 clock bomb yet. Just as I say that, we pulled the level 0 clock bomb. Okay, so this card, this is actually a card that came before Escanor level 0 in 7 Deadly Sins, but it has basically the same effect, except it's a clock bomb version instead of a stock bomb. So this card is a level X or lower clock bomb, where X is the number of copies of this Shea already in your waiting room. So if you have all 3 copies in your waiting room, you can use the last copy to be a level 3 or lower clock bomb. If you have 2 copies in your waiting room, you can use the other 2 copies to be level 2 or lower clock bombs, which could be really useful against decks such as That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, using those pesky 2/1 Mirons. You could use it against Alice, although Alice probably won't be too prominent of a deck as of its recent restriction announcement. But definitely against Tensura, this is a really great option. And you can still use it as a level 0 clock bomb against cards that you want to remove from the board in the early game, things like Aqua or Laplace level 0s, things like that. For our rare, we have a double utility, Kari and Yue. This card says on play, you reveal the top card of your deck. If it is a Tortus character or event, you add it to your hand and discard a card. And additionally, it is a Ditch, Climax, Salvage. Getting into the last 2 packs of our box. Here we have the level 3 Kari. So this is a fusion target for the level 2 Noint, and uses the level 0 Kari we looked at earlier. Again, a bit of a spoiler, I won't get too much into it, but this card is 11k power if you have 2 or more other characters, and then when this is placed on stage from hand or by the effect of the fusion, if you have 2 or more other characters, this gains a cross -2 soul until the end of the opponent's next turn. So it could be a pretty nice way to stave off your opponent's mid-game aggression. For our rare, we have level 0 Tio. This is a clean cut, and it also has only 500 base power, but on attack it can give 2,000 power to any of your characters, which can be herself. This does mean that she would only be a 2,500 clean cut if you account for her own buff, which still isn't very strong, but I think this is made up for the fact that this card scales very well into the mid and late game by allowing it to still be a 2k buffer on attack. Really, really nice card. For our last pack, let's see. Here we have the 1-0 Aiko Sensei event. I know what it looks like, but this is basically she got injected with deadly poison, or like it was like off of the blade of a knife, and in that particular scene, Hajime has to give her the antidote via mouth to mouth, and that ends up saving her life. And it does also start triggering Aiko Sensei to have some feelings for Hajime. So that is a thing. Sensei is definitely not immune to main character syndrome. Okay, and then for our last rare, we have the level 0 Shea. So this is a runaway runner, and also during your turn, this gets plus 2,000 power. So 3,500 attacker, and it can just run away from your opponent's attackers. So very similar to the trial deck Javelin runner that we did see in Azure Lane, and a pretty solid level 0 option for turn 1. That is going to conclude our first box. We're going to go ahead and clean up and get right into our second box. And so we'll be right back. All right, box 2, let's get right into it. Unfortunately, we weren't able to pull any SP from our first box. Hopefully we'll have better luck in the second. For our box topper promo, we have the level 1 UA. During your turn, this gets plus 4,000 power. I feel like they could have somehow found a way to give this a soul trigger or something. Make it a little bit more synergistic with those choice climax strategies. All right, so I looked through the low rarity, and I'm pretty sure we didn't have the card that synergizes with this level 1 Mew, so I'll have to look out for it in the second box. Maybe I'm just crazy, and I just skipped right over it without realizing. And it looks like we're immediately going to have our first double R, which is a new one that we didn't have in the first box, which is the level 3 UA. So this card, if you have 2 or more other characters, she becomes 11k power and hexproof. When she's placed on stage from hand, she heals 1. And this climax combo is with choice and is going to be promoting a bit of a prolonged endgame strategy. So when this attacks, you can pay 1, discard a character, and if you do, this gains the following ability until the end of the opponent's next turn. Up to once per turn, when damage dealt by this card or by the character across from this card is canceled, you can burn your opponent for 2. And so this kind of has the implication that the idea is not for you to use this card to win the game immediately upon hitting level 3. You want to be chipping your opponent down, letting them have another turn of attacks to swing at you. You try to cancel those attacks, and then you can burn them a little bit more, get them even closer to death, and try to finish them off on the next turn. So you're promoting a 2-turn level 3 game. And this card fits really well with the Gravity Magic event that we saw in our first box, because the Gravity Magic event lets you filter through the top 2 cards of your deck to try to get closer to a climax to cancel with, which would allow you to proc her on cancel ability. So very nice combination of cards that you have there. And this is a pretty popular top end that you could run alongside a variety of different climax combos. I've seen this run alongside the 2-soul UA combo, the choice trial deck UA and Hajime combo. I've seen this run alongside the Shizuku level 1 combo, which we will be featuring later on in our gameplay block. So definitely a lot of really cool different playstyles that you can run alongside this UA. But okay, here we have our commons. Let's keep going. Okay, here we have the mom. So we pulled the mom. This particular duo of cards, if you are looking for a budget strategy, and I mean like super budget, like if you want to spend like $5 and then just like play Arifureta, you're gonna want to play these 2 cards. So Swimsuit Mew says if you have her mom on stage, she gets plus 6,000 power. She goes up to 8,500. And then the level 1 Remia, the mom, she's an assist 500, so she makes the Mew go up to 9k, and she has the Amagi effect, where when you play a climax, you can pay 1 stock to top check up to 4, add a character to your hand, send the rest to waiting room. So between these 2, you can literally just like play climaxes just to push damage, and then your advantage engine can just be the Remia with her Amagi effect, and the Mew because she just doesn't die. And then you just back this up with like 2k counter from Shizuku, and you could just have a really, really solid level 1 game. A friend of mine, we played like a low rarity format where you could only run uncommon and common, and he just played like 8 empty door with Mew and Remia, and it's really, really solid. So if you guys are looking for a really cheap strategy that still lets you have a really nice Weiss Schwarz game, definitely look into playing Mew and her mother. So we'll go ahead and put those right there. Okay, for our rare, we have the level 3 Shizuku that we had from our first box. We're gonna try and speed through the second box a little bit, as we will have seen a lot of these cards already. common. We have a level 1 2 soul combo. Ooh, here we have our SR, maybe our first, maybe our second. This is the runner that we saw in the first box, alternate art. Pretty nice. Okay, and then for our rare, we have the level 0 Frederica Aiko. Again, another card that we had in our first box. And here we have the normal version of the runner. Honestly, the thing I really like, I think the thing that I like about Shea is that despite her character design being like pretty, I can't really use any phrase other than like scantily clad. Like, she seems like she would be a very fan servicey character, and while she does get like fan service shots, I think that her personality really just like overcomes that. She's really just like very earnest and happy-go-lucky, and she just wants to prove that she is like a valid asset for the team, and she does a really good job of that. She's just a really strong fighter, and so yeah, I'm not really sure how else to describe that. All right, for our next pack, we have the 2/2 Hajime. Yeah, like here's a perfect example. So like Shea, a lot of the time she's called a worthless rabbit, but honestly, she's a good girl. All right, for our next double R, another one that we didn't pull in our first box, we have the 1/0 Aiko. So this one is a very unique asset for Arifureta because it is an anti-burn 1. So as in, you cannot be burned by exactly burn 1s by characters' auto abilities. So like, let's say for example, your opponent has a Gura, they can hit you with the burn 2, but if they mill any soul triggers on the burn 1, those burn 1s will just not happen. This card's other effect is when your character's trigger check reveals a climax, you can discard a climax in order to salvage a character. So this is useful for things like gold bar and pants builds. One thing about the anti-burn is that it does require 2 or more other classmate or teacher characters. So you will have to make sure that you can make that work in your deck building as well as your board setups. So you would probably want to use this in a deck that has a lot of classmate frontline, maybe something like the 8-door deck that utilizes the Hajimes in the front row, maybe with like Shizuku alongside them. Okay. Another repeat rare. And yet another repeat rare with the 1/0 Tio. We have the 3/2 stock swap Shea. I think that I didn't mention this before, but the Shea is also works really well with the 3/2 gold bar top end from the trial deck because that particular top end, it does require the character to still be on stage at the end of the battle. And so by using the 2k power reduction to your opponent's entire front row by the Shea stock swap, you can make it so that your characters are much less likely to get like memory kit countered and removed from stage, which would prevent them from activating their restand effect. For our next double R, we have Shea's level 1. So this one has like a Shizu style combo where you mill 2, add up the levels, and then salvage a character of that level or lower. And then if you salvage a level 3 character, this gets an additional 3,000 power. And then on play, she gets 1,500. So she could potentially attack for 10,000 power with climax, but you don't necessarily want to be salvaging level 3s that early. Maybe you want to pick up like an early play or something. It all just depends on what you're trying to attack, I guess. But yeah, the extra 3k is pretty nice. Personally, I would rather this be the +1 soul that you could get from a card like Bremerton, which we saw in Azure Lane, where if you mill a sum of 2 or more, then you get +1 soul. I would rather have that, but the 3k power, just having an extra benefit is always nice. For a rare, Climax Swap. Okay, here we have the non-foil version of the 3-2 Hajime that we pulled a foil of in our first box. And we have Tio Clean Cut. Oh, awesome. Another double R that we haven't pulled yet. We have the level 0 Hajime, and this is the best double R of the set, like without a doubt. This is the first time that we are seeing an on play and on death salvage Ricky in English Weiss Schwarz. We do have Sokka in Avatar, which is an on play on death summon Ricky, but being an on play on death salvage Ricky has its own implications. So first of all, this card gets plus 1500 power on play, which allows him to attack for 3k, very, very nice. And then he has on play and on death salvage Ricky. And so the main implication behind that is that this allows Hajime to salvage himself upon dying. So it's really hard for your opponent to try to like level lock you at level 0, because what can happen is, let's say you're at like 0-4 after their attacks are all done. Hajime can die. You can use his effect to pay 1, clock 1, salvage himself, and then you replay him on your next turn, pay 1, clock yourself, and in addition to the clock for turn, draw 2, you can go to level 1 that way. So this card is a really, really strong card. It can net you a ton of advantage in the level 0 game, and the ability to get himself back is, I think, the biggest part of what makes this profile so strong. This card is also needed in level for the 3-2 Kaori to be an early play. And I'm not sure, this is also needed for the marker for the 3-2 UA as well. So there are plenty of cards that need this. You will want this in like literally every single Arifureta deck. There's like basically no reason not to run it. It's just super strong. It's everything you want. It's a great +0. It attacks for 3k. You need it for certain things. It's red. There's not a whole lot of really good splashable red cards, to be completely honest. It's classmate trait for the cards that's relevant for. This is just a super, super good card. This is the one that you are going to want to pull in every single Arifureta box. Just, yeah, great card. Absolutely amazing card. All right, for our rare, we have a Drop Assassin Shea, and it's also a JC. So when your other Tortus character is front attacked, you can pay 1, sack herself in order to bounce the other character back to your hand. This is a really nice card alongside the Shizuku level 1 combo, because that Shizuku is very, very weak on defense, only 2k power, and this can allow you to reuse that Shizuku for future turns. Try to get more climax combos, maybe try to reduce your opponent's character's power in creative ways, maybe get rid of some of your opponent's lower power characters and blow them off the board. All right, here we have another cool rare that we haven't seen yet, a level 0 Shea. So this card, the main reason you play this card is for the act ability, which is pay 2, discard a Tortus character in order to salvage 2 characters that have the same name. And this is very useful for the gold bar, or for the 2-soul gold bar deck, in order to grab as many copies of this level 1 combo as you possibly can. I was saying earlier that when you use this combo, you really want to have triple, because that means that your opponent either has to take 9 straight damage, or you're going to get some advantage back at some point along the line. This Shea is instrumental in making sure that you're able to have all 3 copies of those UAs on your board consistently. And her second effect is really strong as well, where when you trigger a climax, you can discard a climax to look at up to 2 cards from the top of your deck, choose 1 card from among them, add it to your hand, and send the rest to waiting room. So in that particular deck, because we are running 2 soul plus gold bar, if we trigger a gold bar climax that we don't want in our hand, we can use this Shea to get it out of our hand and turn it into something better. And then if we aren't able to get a satisfactory card off of that top 2, maybe we get like a level 3 that we can't use, we can use that as discard fodder for Shea's actability on our next turn. All right. And looks like we were able to just pull all 10 double Rs. It was one of those days. So for our next double R, we have the level 0 Mew. This is a on-play Rico effect where you discard a card, reveal the top card of your deck, and salvage a character of level X or lower, where X is the level of the revealed card. Very, very useful effect. Allows you to discard a card without any stock cost. It allows you to get semi-selective advantage because it is based on the top card of your deck, but it also gets you knowledge of the top card of your deck, which can be very useful for certain ability profiles, or even just knowing that your first trigger of the turn is going to be clean. Her second effect is on attack, you can give one of your other characters 1k power. Really, really nice. Just get some incidental buffing, which is really nice considering that this card, if it didn't have that effect, it wasn't really going to kill much anyways, so might as well just give 1k buff to one of your other characters. So really, really nice card, and definitely another double R utility card that you're going to want to be looking out for in your boxes. So in my opinion, probably the best 3 cards that you're going to want to be looking out for are the level 0 Hajime, followed by the Kaori Brainstorm and the Mew level 0, as those cards are strong utility options that can see use in literally any Arifureta deck, except 8-door, because 8-door is going to want to run the other Brainstorm. But Kaori is still strong nonetheless. All right, let's go ahead and finish off our box. We have a spammable Kaori Brainstorm, and it also has a Climax combo that mills 4 and salvages a level X or lower character, where X is the number of soul triggers. I believe this Climax combo is with a stock soul. I'm not 100% sure, or it might just be a pants. It's a pants. So, or no, this is a stock soul. So pretty nice card that you could potentially just like spam a bunch of copies of this. Spam stock soul with like maybe pants top end so that you can use the pants Climax to get this back every single turn. And yeah, seems like a pretty solid game plan. And her spammable Brainstorm says for each Climax revealed, you get to look at up to 3 cards on top of your deck, add a card from among them, add it to your hand, and discard a card afterwards. So that could be another way to continuously get that Stock Soul Climax back into your hand. So pretty solid combo. And we don't have any double Rs left, so we can just kind of go through the rest. Here we have one more rare that we haven't looked at, which is the level 0 Yue and Mew and Kaori. During your opponent's turn, if all of your characters are Tortus trait, this becomes 4k power. And it also is a mill runner. So at the beginning of your opponent's attack phase, you can mill 1. If it's a Tortus character, you can move this to an open slot in your front row, making this be a 4k defensive mill runner. And for our final pack, our rare is the level 0 Yue Azusa effect. So this card has an on-play effect where you can reveal the level 3 Hajime in your hand for resonance, and you can discard a card to look at up to 4 cards from the top of your deck, add a Tortoise character from among them, add it to your hand, send the rest to waiting room. So those of us who've been playing the game of Weiss Schwarz for a while now, we typically call this effect an Azusa effect, or maybe you sometimes hear an Akatsuki effect. This card is very strong, just allows you to costlessly mill through cards in your deck while also simultaneously getting a useless card out of your hand, try to replace it with something better. So it's a very strong card that you're definitely going to want to be running in those 8-door decks. Her second effect is when she's placed on stage from hand, you can choose one of your opponent's characters and blink it, which is to say you send it to memory and then your opponent can return it back to stage on any position. So ordinarily, this would just be useful for getting rid of cross-turn effects or cross-turn power. It can also be utilized to get rid of any markers your opponent might have on their characters. But in specifically the 8-door deck, it does have synergy with the Brainstorm, because the Brainstorm says whenever your opponent's character or whenever your opponent's card is put into memory, you get to give one of your characters 2k power until end of turn. And so this is very useful in combination with that by basically allowing this card to be an on-play 2k buff. Or if you have multiple Brainstorms, it can be double on-play 2k buff, which makes this card exceptionally strong in that strategy. That is going to conclude our second box. We did pull every single double R, so we aren't going to have to recap any of those, but we will be just showing you guys some of the SPs that we've pulled before we finish off our box opening. So I'm just going to clean up real quick, and we'll be right back with that. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and showcase some of the SPs that we have pulled. We did not pull every SP, so we will not be able to show you all of those, unfortunately, but just as always, we want to show you guys some of the stuff that you might be pulling within your boxes. So here we have the 10 double Rs, and so of the SPs that we pulled, we have the Kaori the Yue, Aiko Sensei, the Mew, and the Tio. And so these are just 5 of the 8 SPs that you can pull. You can additionally pull Shizuku, Hajime, and Shea as 3 of the other SPs, so be sure to look out for those as well. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel for our upcoming additional content for the Arifureta block. We'll be doing all of our usual stuff like TD++. I do think about for a sec how many pluses we have in the name now that trial decks don't have the plus in their name normally anymore. We will be doing our TD++, our usual deck profile, and then our gameplay block where we will be showing off multiple builds of Arifureta, so be sure to be on the lookout for that. And yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. Until next time, this has been Randall, aka Shizucats, on the Tressa's Collectibles channel, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.